Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Poverty Reduction PDC. Before we go on the agenda, just want to wish everybody a happy new year. I know we're at the end of January, but you know what they say, it's better late than never. Straight on and item one, which is apologies for absence.
No apologies, Chair.
Two, disclosures of personal and prejudicial interests. And then to approve and sign the minutes of the previous meeting as a correct record. I'll go through the pages, page 1, page 2, page 3. Minutes as a whole, will somebody move? Linda, thank you. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
Nobody's shouting out there against it. Item 4 is promoting affordable credit policy update. I've asked for the updates to be put on this time, just for everybody to know where we are with certain policies and where they're going to go next. They've come before us on quite a few occasions, and we're moving forward slowly on each meeting. So there is a time when we come to the end, and then it goes forward then to corporate briefing management. So Anthony, if you want to take us through a verbal report, then everybody know exactly where we are.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everybody. So yeah, this is item 4, promoting affordable credit policy. The draft policy and reports have been to the Poverty Reduction PDC a number of times, so I'm not going to spend any time this afternoon going over the draft policy. I'll just recap what was agreed in the last meeting and give you a very brief update as to progression. So in the December meeting of the PDC, the policy was approved for progression to the cabinet member for approval. So I'm pleased to say this afternoon that the report and the draft policy was approved by the cabinet member, and subsequently a report has been prepared on behalf of the Poverty Reduction Policy Development Committee, along with the draft policy and integrated impact assessment screening, and submitted for corporate briefing on the 3rd of February, followed by cabinet on the 17th of February. So it's a very brief update there, just letting you know, I suppose, that that as Councillor Downing said, it has moved forward. We are moving forward with this. So I'm pleased that we're at the stage where we're actually taking it forward to corporate briefing and cabinet.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Anthony. I just wanted it on the agenda just to show that we're moving forward, and this is the end where we are with it when it goes to cabinet for it to be adopted by council and as part of their policies. Has anybody any comments on? No. Okay, we'll go straight on to agenda item 2, which is very similar to this. It's the personal debt recovery policy. We've had a workshop on it. We've had quite a few meetings, and I think we were waiting for housing to come back to us on their debt recovery. I think the officer was of the view that she had sent it. Anthony was sitting there waiting for it, and until we went back to housing, we eventually had it. It's been put forward, but there are 1 or 2 small departments we're waiting for to finish this off. So Anthony, it's over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and I think you've quite succinctly almost given the update there yourself. So just to let members of the PDC know that work is continuing, engaging with services that collect outstanding personal debt in the development of this policy. I'm pleased to say that we now have entries in the policy from housing rents, council tax, housing benefit overpayments, social care contributions, and accounts receivable. And requests have been made of all relevant remaining services to review the draft of the policy and to submit draft sections that relate to their processes, outlining how that policy then will be delivered in their services. So there's not many left. I've spoken to a number of colleagues across different departments over the last few days who I know are working on their copy. In all cases, I would say that officers are working on that copy, and then they're having to seek approval from their heads of service before submitting back to me. But that work is ongoing, and I would say that it is expected that a full draft would be completed and ready for public consultation by the end of February.
Well, thank you for that. And anybody got any comments on that? No, it's practically straightforward. I was hoping that we would have had the rest in before now, because we did agree that as soon as Anthony gets these responses, he doesn't have to bring it back to us, because we've agreed the policy as it stands with the introduction and all the pieces, and then he can go straight out to consultation. And the point is, he can't do the IIA until the consultation has come back for him to complete it, because I was hoping, and the cabinet member was hoping, we would get this through before we finish our term, which is the end of February, because I think March would just be an annual report. But if push comes to the shove, I'm sure we could then push this through in March. So I'm just hoping we can do that. So we'd have 2 policies finished in this year. So, okay, is everybody happy with that? Yeah, we're moving forward. Item 6 is the Swansea Poverty Truth Commission. Like I say, I don't know much about this. It went to Cabinet in June 2019, and I think it was going to move forward and report it, but then we were hit by something called COVID. So I don't know where it's actually gone now. I think it's in conjunction with SCVS, if I'm not mistaken. So Anthony, where are we now with this?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, thought that this would be a timely opportunity to bring PDC members up to date with progression of the Swansea Poverty Truth Commission, to provide an update on progress. And I'm also going to be introducing in the call this afternoon. We've got Sian Denty and Kay Lemon, who are the Swansea Poverty Truth Commission facilitators. So I'm just going to talk a little bit, give a bit of an overview of a little recap on what Poverty Truth Commission is about and where we're at, and we'll hear a little bit of detail then from Kay and Sian about what they've been doing, what stage we're at. And I'd like then to there might be some questions from PDC members, but it can come back to me then and talk a little bit about what role potentially the Poverty Reduction PDC might play in the process of the Poverty Truth Commission. So just to recap, I'm going to just go through some key points about Poverty Truth Commissions. And we in Swansea, it's very likely that we're going to be the first local authority area in Wales that will have a Poverty Truth Commission. I know there's interest in other areas, but we are significantly further ahead in Swansea, and it's actually raising interest from Welsh Government, who are keen to follow progress here. But Poverty Truth Commissions, what are they about? So they're about bringing changing communities, organisations, behaviours and attitudes towards poverty, and taking action to tackle it. They bring together key decision makers with people who have direct lived experience of poverty to form a group of commissioners, and that group of commissioners is made up of what we call community commissioners. That's people with lived experience of poverty, and then civic and business commissioners, who are people that have the power and the influence to make change. Poverty Truth Commissions create a safe space for commissioners to meet together, build relationships, trust and confidence in each other. They identify key issues that they will work on together over a limited timescale, and I'll speak a little bit about the timescale, guided by the experience of the community commissioners. They ensure that those affected by decisions are central to decision making. And a key thing to understand about Poverty Truth Commissions is that they're not owned or directed by any single organisation. So Swansea Council are supporting the development and helping create the environment where Swansea has a Poverty Truth Commission. I suppose that's how I describe it. So Poverty Truth Commissions have a life cycle. We're in the development phase at the moment, where the community commissioners come together, build relationships, trust, share their stories. Civic and business commissioners are then invited to join the commission prior to a public launch, which is a significant event that will mark the start of the commission's work. The commission will start then, and then groups will work on the issues that the commission has identified for approximately what we've learned from other commissions across the UK, around about 18 months. Then there would be a closing event where experiences, successes and achievements are shared, and a final report. So a Poverty Truth Commission has a life cycle. It has a start, a middle and an end. The journey that we've been on in Swansea is that in 2019, what's known as a startup group was formed. So that's a group of representatives from organisations in Swansea that have the knowledge, the expertise to develop and put in place the resources to work towards being able to have a Poverty Truth Commission. So what I'm talking about there is raising and securing funding from multiple sources to put in place for the commission, selecting what's known as a hosting organisation. So Councillor Downing already said that SCVS are heavily involved in this. Yes, they are. SCVS are the hosting organisation of the commission, and that means that's where the facilitation team, so Sian and Kay are on the call today, that's where the facilitation team are hosted that are developing the commission. So the facilitation team was recruited right at the start of the pandemic, April 2020, and obviously the pandemic has had a significant impact on all the plans that we had in place in terms of developing the commission. But I am pleased to say that the team have worked as hard as they can to work around the challenges that the pandemic has put in place. So at this point, I'll hand over to Sian and Kay. Perhaps I think they're going to talk in a little bit more detail about the role of the commissioners, both sets of commissioners, and tell you a bit about the journey so far and provide an update in that respect. And then we'll come back to me and I'll talk a little bit about the potential role for the Poverty Reduction PDC in the future. Sian, Kay?
Yeah.
Sean mute.
Sian, you're on mute.
Sian.
Sorry, I always do that. Sorry about that. Hi. Well, actually, I mean, we were going to give a bit of overview of the process, but I think Tony's already done the majority of that anyway. I think there's only one thing I wanted to add to that is at the end of the process, there's a lot of emphasis on embedding what's been learned, so that it's not lost, whatever comes out of the commission. In terms of the roles of the commissioners, the whole of the Poverty Truth Commission is really based around the lived experience of the community commissioners. So everything is directed from their experience. We're going to say a little bit more about how we recruited the commissioners across Swansea. I mean, the idea of with the community commissioners is to represent the diversity of Swansea, of the diversity of experience in the Swansea area. So a lot of the groundwork we've put into actually ensuring that we get a kind of a diverse range of experience that reflects Swansea. Obviously, with COVID situation, that's kind of influenced quite a lot on how we've had to progress the work. Pre-COVID, it would have been possible for us to go along and drop into places and have chats and conversations with people over a cup of coffee, and but things have been very, very different because we haven't been able to meet face to face at all. So That's kind of meant that the importance of relationship building with organisations, people, grassroots organisations, working with people with lived experience of poverty has been really, really important. A lot of work has been put into building relationships and engaging with a range of organisations across Swansea in terms of the public sector and the third sector also. We did a lot of work about I think initially we organised various events as well, where we invited people to come along and to actually listen to the experiences of commissioners from other poverty truth commissions, so they could get kind of an essential view of how they worked and what it was like to be part of the commission for the commissioners. We invited like a large amount of organisations across Swansea, and we also asked them to cascade that information that we were looking for community commissioners through their distribution networks and the people that they were working with, and we used a wide range of diverse sources to get the information out, including the distributionists we have locally and other organisations distributionists too. We found quite quickly that we were having to broker information that we were passing on through people in organisations, because we couldn't meet them face to face. We couldn't speak to them directly, and we found that quite quickly that what we needed to do was create some clear communication guidelines about what the commission was, to stop it becoming a case of Chinese whispers, really, because we were talking to somebody who would pass it on to somebody else. So we've created some really clear communications, which we can send you after the meeting here. We actually met with various groups online as well. We met with people in connection with citizen advice, survivors of domestic abuse, just to give you some examples, where we spoke about the commission. So as a result of this, we've now actually at the stage where we have a group of 13 commissioners, and Kay's going to say a little bit more about the group that we have.
Hi everyone, hello, nice to meet you. Yeah, so luckily after all the groundwork that was laid and all the liaison and partnership work that Sian and I did, we've managed now to got a wonderful group of 13 participants, and they bring with them a really diverse range of experiences of poverty, and they all are incredibly inspirational, very resilient, astound us with their creativity, their courage, and we wanted to share with you really a little bit about what sort of challenges the participants have been facing in terms of their lived experience of poverty, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of the themes that have been emerging so to date. And this, bearing in mind, this is still the very early phase of the commission before the launch. So we've got excellent representation in terms of gender, ethnicity, people who have experienced adverse childhood experiences, people who've been young carers and then gone on to become unpaid carers as an adult as well. We have survivors of domestic abuse, and that's both genders as well. We have people who are asylum seeking in Swansea. We have people who have experienced homelessness, who are currently struggling with debt, financial issues, affordable housing. We also have a lot of people who have experience of mental ill health. And as we know, the disability, mental ill health, ethnicity, gender, all of these things intersect with poverty in a very multi-layered way, and that's one of the things that's very much coming out as part of the commission to date. We also have, I was going to talk about the individual commissioners. We have experience as well from the rural areas of Swansea and the urban areas, which I think is really important, because people's experiences can be quite different depending on where they are living. So issues such as transport, isolation, access to services are all things which are generally being reflected in the Commission to date. Let me see what else I've got. So, I mean, the other things that participants are already sharing are experiences, for example, of being cuckooed. So that is a phase that's becoming more prevalent as time goes on. We've also got participants with experience of addictions, experience of, you know, discrimination, people who have come across a variety and a range of barriers when they're trying to access services. And also, I did a quick survey before I came on. 10 out of the 13 participants are dependent on food banks currently. 7 out of 13 of them have identified as being in financial difficulties. So they have debts, arrears, and don't have access to affordable credit. 9 of the 13 are reliant on the welfare system for their income. And 7 of them are carers as well for family members or partners. I think the other thing that's coming up as well is the issue of intergenerational poverty, and also the services that are meant there to protect the most vulnerable are often ending up entrenching inequality. So some examples of that have come up are services and existing mechanisms such as the police, the civil courts, social services, Department of Work and Pensions, immigration services, all of these safety net mechanisms that are supposed to be in place, you know, to provide security, safety, life-saving services, really. They can be problematic, and I think we're going to be following through, you know, with these themes that are arising as the Commission progresses and looking at ways that Swansea can better tackle, you know, these issues which leave the most vulnerable people in really unsafe situations. And I think as well, with the volatility of the labour market at the moment and the gig economy and the impact of the pandemic, you know, there's a risk that inequalities are going to be even more deeply entrenched. And I don't think many of our participants feel as much hope for respite, to be honest, at the moment either. So there couldn't really be a more timely point at which, I think, to hold a Poverty Truth Commission, and we're really pleased and excited about being the first place, you know, in Wales to have one, and we're hoping that this will be a legacy for Swansea and that we can pass on good practice and learning. Sorry, Sian, I can see your hands up. You're on mute.
Just wanted to make clear as well in terms of the benefits that quite a number of our commissioners are working, so that's in-work benefits, because we you know, that the issue of in-work poverty has kind of really raised its head, and also the hidden poverty that we get in Swansea in areas that are not maybe identified on the Welsh Index of Multiple Deprivation as well, and that experience of people who are living in those areas who are experiencing poverty also has been quite stark. Yeah, sorry. So and I would just add as well that mental health has, you know, issues have come up quite a lot as well.
And just the last thing I wanted to say was that at the outset, Sian and I talked a lot about how we would best approach the Commission. And I think what came through really strongly was the need to have a trauma-informed approach embedded in how we work, not only with community commissioners, but right throughout the project. So I just wanted to say what this means, really. So that what that means, or what that has meant for us, is that the Commission is led by the people with lived experience. And each of these people have unique individual needs. We know that there is quite a strong link between poverty and trauma. So Sian and I have tried to ensure that there have been resources in place that we can refer people to should they need it, because we know that trauma is different and everyone will experience it in a unique way. So therefore they will need a unique response as well. So a lot of work Sian and I have been doing is supporting people on a one-to-one basis, because they are currently still in crisis, and that is likely to exist for some time to come. But also we've been doing a lot of signposting, and accessing counselling for some of the commissioners, because they are still existing with the impact of the trauma that they might have experienced from their earlier lives or from, you know, recent experiences. So that's been a really important, significant part of our approach, I would say, Sian.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just that sort of passing on of information that we are aware of, for example, the fuel voucher scheme and things like that, ensuring that, you know, the participants are aware of ways that they can get support and help. And that's kind of cascaded as well out through their friends and their families as well. So it's been a way of getting information out as well, also, which we weren't expecting really.
Okay, thank you both. Excellent presentation by the both of you. I know some of the things that you were mentioning there that Anthony also puts out. So, you know, it is working that way. Before I say any more, Peter?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a very exciting development, I think, and much to be welcomed, and I fully support the efforts of the officers and others in this direction. I've been aware of the discussion around the idea of a Poverty Truth Commission going back at least 3 years, maybe longer, here in Swansea. And it's obviously been long in the gestation, but let's hope when it comes it will be a worthwhile project. I've got a particular interest, Chair. I'm a member of a committee that runs a body called the Iberian and Latin American Association here in Wales. My wife is chair of it. She's from Colombia, and hence the link to Latin America. And we've got something about 120 members, I know, currently, and about half of those are either asylum seekers and or recently achieved refugee status. And obviously, they are in poverty. Any asylum seeker is in poverty. Most of them, as it happens, are from El Salvador in Central America. And the association has built up a whole series of projects and support arrangements for them. So I'm very pleased to hear that asylum seekers are to be represented on the Commission. That's extremely important and to be welcomed. But I think there's then an issue of what is actually expected from the Commission in due course in terms of outputs. What will we hope? We can't expect, but what can we hope it might be able to do in order to help not only the people that my organisation represents, but others as well. I don't know whether, incidentally, the Iberian Latin American Association is actually one of the members. I know I've talked to my wife about it. Perhaps Matt Kay will be able to clarify that for us in a moment. But whether it is or whether it isn't, certainly our members are, and we shall certainly pay close attention, I think, therefore, to the work of the Commission. So welcome it enormously. Perhaps a little clarification of the membership, that would be helpful. If I may, Chair, just another issue. Poverty, of course, as we've discussed in previous meetings, comes in all shapes and forms. And one of the forms in which it comes is green impoverishment in terms of lack of access to green space. So I'm hoping that there will be some means of ensuring that the voice of people with a green interest from the natural world will find representation in the membership as well. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter. Anthony.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Jones, for your comments and your support of the development of the Commission. I will call in probably Sharon or Kate to talk a little bit, give some examples, I guess, from perhaps what's happened in other areas where they've run a commission, in terms of what kind of outcomes we can expect. I think that the important message to give here is that no organisation can impose what priorities or themes the Commission wants to look at. That's for the Commission to decide. But the commissioners will work together on those themes, and I know that they can have impacts at various levels. So I will ask Sian to add a little bit more information to that in a second. Also want to pick up in terms of membership of the commission. It's not so much for organisations to be members of the commission. It's not a membership arrangement. I know that Sian and Kay have engaged with a wide array of organisations across Swansea to support the facilitation team to identify potential community commissioners that they could start talking to then. So yeah, if it's all right, Sian, I don't know if you want to come in and add a little bit more there.
Yes, Councillor Jones, the organisation that you mentioned, we have engaged with them, and we did have one of the members of that group who became involved in the commission, who wanted to be a commissioner. We worked quite closely with them. Their current circumstances were that they were in university, and I think the workload of the university that they were having was just a bit too much for them at the moment to be able to commit. But what we've actually said was that, you know, should their workload lessen, and that we'd be happy for them to be involved and to get that, you know, to get in touch with us. So in terms of the kind of outcomes from poverty truth commissions, like Tony was saying, it's kind of difficult. Swansea's a different city, you know, and it's kind of quite an organic process. It comes out of the work comes out of the particular experiences of the commissioners that are involved. So that'll be different in different areas. We know that our outcomes, and there have been very, very positive outcomes across England and Scotland, where there have been poverty truth commissions. And the outcomes tend to be in 4 areas, which is on an individual basis, an organisational level, a policy level, and a wider societal level. So, for example, on an individual level, community commissioners have spoken of how they've grown in confidence and how the strengths of the relationships that they formed as part of the Truth Commissioners helped them get through some really hard times, and has also helped them to be able to find work or establish their own business, go to college, gain qualifications, etc., as they've gained in more confidence. In one particular area, I know that they developed out of the work that came out, there was a skills training that was developed for the community commissioners to take part in. On an organisational level, for example, in Scotland, the Commission instigated a mentoring programme for civil servants, through which those who had direct lived experience of poverty coach senior policy leaders. And for example, in Salford, the Poverty Truth Commission there inspired the council to stop using enforcement agents when recovering debts from the most vulnerable residents, and also to waive charges for copies of birth certificates for homeless people, enabling them to more easily obtain the official identification needed to access benefits. One of the housing associations, a large housing association in one of the Poverty Truth Commission areas also as well, from the work that came out of the Commission and the engagement with the commissioners, changed their eviction policy, and it was all about became all about supporting their tenants. As a result of the work, the engagement that they did, they managed to reduce their eviction numbers drastically. So also in terms of a policy level, GP engagement strategy came out in West Cheshire, where the DWP developed new links to the Cheshire commissioning clusters. As a result, the DWP worked more closely with GP practices there. And on a wider societal level, there's a lot of work being done in various levels, but also in terms of representation. Something that's coming out of our commission at the moment with issues is the whole stigma and the representation of people living in poverty, and what a dreadful effect that actually has on people. So, for example, in Leeds Poverty Truth Commission, commissioners were invited to advise script writers on a major national TV soap on storylines and portrayals of people living in poverty. We also did in Leeds as well some work with church. I can't remember the name of the organisation, but where they produced alternatives to an alternative benefit stream to that, the programme that was on television and shown alternative representations of little people living in poverty. So I guess we can't say exactly what will come out of Swansea, but we're very hopeful that things will come out, because that will reflect Swansea, what we need in Swansea itself. But it's very much directed around the experiences of the commissioners in this area.
Right. Any other member wants to come in before I call Anthony back and then Kay?
No, that's fine, Chair. Please carry on.
Yeah. Anthony? Oh, Kay, you come in first and then Anthony can sum up.
Okay, I was just going to add that the actual civic business commissioners have identified huge benefits of being involved in the process as well, and they've gone back and they've adapted work culture in various ways, and they've developed relationships with community commissioners, and they've reported real benefits, concrete benefits for being involved, not only for themselves but their organisations as well. And to just update you that we have already had interest from the Senedd and met with Jane Hutt, Minister for Social Justice. She's really interested in how we're progressing, and we'll be keeping in touch with her as well as time goes on and updating her. And we've also met with the Lord Lieutenant of Swansea and the Chief Executive of Swansea Council, and we're hoping that they'll be able to get involved in terms of recruiting civic business commissioners and support for the launch of the commission. And lastly, I just wanted to mention the Poverty Truth Network. So the Poverty Truth Network is the national organisation which represents and supports commissions all across the UK. So we link in with them very strongly, and there's a legacy effect with that as well, because issues that come up at a local level in local PTCs can then be fed into the National Poverty Truth Network and looked at and followed through at a national level. So at the moment they're doing work on universal credit and operations on the ground, face-to-face work in DWP departments, and how they can change the sort of punitive kind of experience that people have when they go to sign on for benefits, and they'll be piloting that shortly in some areas of the UK. So there's a national link as well, and we're hoping that the legacy of Swansea will be to add to that understanding and knowledge and shared good practice.
Thanks again, Kay. Peter, you come back in before?
Very quickly, if I may, Chair, and thank you, Kay, and for those helpful comments. One sort of final thought I have, the question of the Commission being open and accessible. Quite how will it work? I mean, obviously there will be people who will be invited to meetings, there will be members and so forth, but to be successful in terms of influencing what happens in the wider community across Swansea, it needs to be open and accessible. Are you able to comment on that, please, as to how we ensure that people who want to say something can actually say it and say it to the Commission? Thank you.
Just got a little example to share with you around that, and one of our newest commissioners is an asylum seeker, and he has been living in shared accommodation for the last few months, has no digital access whatsoever. So we've been able to signpost him to a community calling project for a free mobile with Wi-Fi access and data. However, that didn't pan out. He wasn't able to engage through Zooms and that because of the broadband issues in his area. So what we've done is we've looked at the resources available to the PTC, and we've secured additional funds to enable Wi-Fi in his property, and to loan him a tablet so that he can actually engage. I mean, there's also issues such as, well, there's language barriers, obviously, so we have language assists with that, and we have links in other commissions across the UK. So as it happened, we found a commissioner from Leeds who spoke Amharic, and was able to come in and do some joint work with us with this individual. So the links from the wider PTN network really assist in that aspect. But also Sean and I are looking at things in terms of, lingo and jargon that's used, and we've developed a contract with commissioners so that they are supportive of each other and it's a safe space, and that we explain terms and we use basic language. So we do have a participants who have learning difficulties as well, and things like sensory impairments. So accessibility has been at the very heart of how we approach the Commission.
Yeah, thank you. Before I go into Anthony, on the report that went to Cabinet 2019, there was a timeline involved in that, which ended in a final report publication. I think what we are looking at from a PDC is how do we or how would you envisage the City and County of Swansea moving forward in support of this? Because one of the other decisions was made then was that there was funding available for the startup group up to £5,000. Well, it was £5,000, but that was 2019. We're now in 2022. Was that carried forward, or is it something we want to look at? Also, I know Anthony introduced both Sian and Kay. Didn't actually say who you were working for, whether you were working for the City and County of Swansea, whether you were working for SCVS, or whether you were working for the Truth Commission. So, because it does say in the recommendation in 2019 that staff time of 2 days per week would be allocated throughout the duration of the Commission. So, you know, these are things that that I would like to see answered. Do we still do it, or is it something we put down and we've forgotten about it? So those are the things that have jumped out at me, because the way we go forward is, if we haven't got a policy on the Truth Commission to assist as a council, and then that's what we should be looking at. So, Anthony.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean that report is quite old now. Yeah, the Poverty Truth Commission does require ongoing funding for staff wages and costs incurred of the work of working with the commissioners. The approach is that the general approach is that not any one single organisation in theory should pay for the commission, because that would give them a power over the commission, I suppose. So funding has been brought in to support the commission from a number of sources, and between ourselves and the host organisation SCVS, we are monitoring the available funding to ensure that the facilitation team, the funding is there for the facilitation team and for the costs involved as we go forward. So that's a rolling approach there to the funding. And you did, yeah, and my apologies, I should have said, so Sian is part of my team in the Tackling Poverty Service, and effectively she's been seconded to the Poverty Truth Commission as a Poverty Truth Commission facilitator for the equivalent of 2 days a week, working out of SCVS with Kay. So Kay was recruited as part of the the recruitment of the facilitation team. So Kay is employed by the host organisation SCVS. And you raised an interesting point about how I think one of the key things that I wanted to sum up with in terms of this update was not only to give the update around where we are with the Commission, but to perhaps raise some awareness about how the Poverty Reduction Policy Development Committee might be able to support the work of the Commission going forward from this point. So I think the first point that I'd like to make is we've heard from Sian and Kay about how they've engaged and recruited a set of community commissioners. Those community commissioners are building those relationships, they're starting to share their stories, and we've heard that there are some themes starting to emerge that the Commission might be looking at. The next step as those themes develop, whatever those themes are, will inform who the most appropriate civic and business commissioners are to bring on board to be part of the Truth Commission. So it might be that the poverty members of the Poverty Reduction PDC can support with relevant contacts or relationships that they have either internally or or with external organisations in terms of recruitment of those civic and business commissioners. And I suppose one of the main things that I wanted to raise here today is that when the Commission establishes those themes and the work launches, it may well be that there is potential that the Commission, through the work of the Commission and within the authority, it might be that we need to have a look at an existing policy or perhaps develop a new policy that will support the aspirations of what the commission is working on. And I think that the poverty reduction PDC would have a role to play in that. So I wanted to kind of raise that at this point so that members had an awareness that there could be things that we could potentially bring to the PDC that we could work through and champion and move forward as the Commission works through its process.
Okay, thank you for that, Anthony. Yeah, it's the way I think that we should be moving forward as a council. And it's not a case of us funding the whole thing, because that would be impossible. It's just a case to show that we are behind it, and it's something we should look at when we've got a written report in front of us. Everybody says yes when we're talking verbally. So anyway, Kay, Sian, if you've got nothing else to add, can I thank you both for giving us an excellent report on the Truth Commission. Opened my eyes a little bit. And I suppose we will see you soon, because this won't be the end of it. Hopefully the next PDC after May we'll keep looking at this topic. So can I again thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So that was my agenda. And funny enough, that takes us straight on to the work plan. As you know, we don't go many months in advance on this committee, because I think a lot of what we do we should stick to, because they are very important that we do finish them on time. What are your feelings about the Truth Commission, whether we should have a written report to see where we're going, how we support it, and how we support, if we can support it going forward? So what's your views on that, Erica?
Hi, thank you, Chair. Yes, it was very interesting. It's a big job, huge job. I was wondering if Anthony knew of any policies or could bring a policy for us to look at, or maybe we need to, have a look at a new one. But I thought rather than, if there's something we can build on, to do that. That's what I was thinking, Chair.
Yeah. Christine?
Thank you, Chair. Just with regard to the truth thing, I just think it's important to keep it going, and whatever we can do to firm things up going forward, I think we should absolutely do. Chair, you've mentioned the end of the term of this council, and I think it's something that we want to make sure gets carried on by the next administration, whoever they are, post May, because we know the impact that poverty has on our citizens. We know we know some of the struggles that they're up against, and anything we can do to ease that, I think we should absolutely do, and make sure that this work continues going forward, Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that, Christine. And what it is, if most of us don't get back, then I'm sure Anthony will remind the next chair of what we're doing. Peter.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Sorry to keep coming back on this topic. I'm not seeking re-election, so I shall not be a member of whatever the successor body to this is. But I sincerely hope that the next PDC will work closely with the Poverty Truth Commission once it's established and functioning. In fact, I would be expecting, maybe asking a bit much, I would be expecting and hoping that the Poverty Truth Commission would report from time to time to the PDC on work and progress, and maybe the PDC will want to feed ideas back to the Poverty Truth Commission. So I think there will be an interrelationship there that will be mutually beneficial and helpful. On a slightly different issue, if I may, so thinking about the work plan, I won't be here to make it happen. Universal basic income. I don't know whether it'd be appropriate for the PDC at some point to have a think about this in terms of, I mean, I know that the Welsh Government, I believe, is undertaking some kind of pilot study in parts of Wales as to how UBI might work. Whether it be appropriate for this committee to have a look at it. I mean, obviously it's a broader issue than just Swansea, and it addresses the whole issue of poverty as a social issue, as a social problem. I'll just throw that in, Chair, whether other members have a view as to whether it would be appropriate for this committee to have a look. Thank you, Chair.
Nobody else got a view on that? It's something we can look at, Peter, and like I said, I'll have a chat with cabinet members anyway to see, make sure we got their backing as well. Christine, is that new or old?
I was just going to say, when we're talking about the Truth Commission reporting, I'd like to see the Truth Commission reporting not just to the PDC or to scrutiny. I'd actually like to see the time when the Truth Commission is reporting direct to council. I think it's that important, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Yeah, it's one of the ways we could recommend going forward. So I'll have a chat with Anthony afterwards, or in the week, about whether we can put a report together for the next meeting. And then it'll be on the agenda then for the meeting after as well. Do you want to finish this off, Anthony? Has you got your hand up?
Jay, I was just going to pick up. Thank you all for your input and your comments today. It's really appreciated. I just wanted to thought I'd pick up on a couple of points. So, Councillor Kirshner, in terms of policy, yeah, I think at this stage, I think the work that the policy reduction PDC is engaged in the policy development that we're already doing. So, they're promoting affordable credit, looking at corporate personal debt recovery policy. All of this is going to support perhaps things that are going to be teased out of the commission, the themes that they identify. And yeah, that's I think we can't preempt. Whilst there are themes emerging right now, we don't know yet exactly which themes the commission is. Right, this is what the commission Swansea is going to work on. I think that's the next milestone as we go through the kind of civic and business recruitment. Is the next milestone is the commission deciding, right, these are the themes that we're going to work on. I think that would probably be the ideal time to bring a report back to the Poverty Reduction Policy Development Committee, so that you've got that early sight of the key themes that the commission would like to, well, not would like to, but will be working on. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that comment. But happy to to bring Poverty Truth Commission back to the committee for any discussion or future items as and when it is appropriate.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Raylon, is your hand up?
Thank you, Chair. With regards Peter's point about the universal basic income issue, it might be worth thinking about putting it on the agenda for the first meeting after the election, so that the new committee can decide if that is a priority for the work programme for the next year. I would make the point, though, I suppose, that if the Welsh Government is looking for locations for a potential pilot project, I would like Swansea to put itself forward to be one of those type of pilot areas. But as regards the PDC, I think it should be on the agenda for the first meeting after the election, and hopefully most of us will be back to contribute then.
Yeah, thank you for that, Raylan. Yeah, we do get a list of things that's in our work plan. What we don't do is allocate certain months for them. But yeah, that's certainly, because if we've got a list there, the next committee will definitely look at them. Right, Christine, you still there?
Sorry, that was late.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else on that, the only other thing for the work plan, which I'd like to see next month, is the community food growing policy, which has been hovering around for quite some time. So I don't know. Is Joanne here? Joanne, do you want to say something on this?
Yes, I'm here. So yes, I can follow that up for you, Phil. I think it's a case of trying to sort of work with somebody in Martin's team, because it's important that the policy is owned by the service that's going to be delivering that, to make sure the resources are there to deliver it. So I shall get back onto that for next month.
There we are. That's fantastic. So we at least we're moving forward on this as well.
Okay.
Those are the only two things. We don't want to put any more work on Anthony or Joanne, because I know they're flat out anyway. So if there's nothing else and nobody anything else, can I thank you all for Erica?
I'm really sorry, Phil, and I'll be really brief, but it's acutely in all of our minds is about the cost of the fuels going up, you know, the gas and electrics, and how that's going to affect people. I don't think we can take that on right now, but it's imminent that we need to have a look at how that's going to affect our residents. Thank you.
Yeah, I quite agree with you, Erica. Whether we can look at it at this committee or it would be... So I don't know, we'll have to look at that to see what we can do. Because what I don't want to do is start something up and we can't do anything about it. It's something that we should be able to do something. Okay, thank you for that, Erica. If there's nothing else, hello, Les. Leslie, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're waving at me, which means no. Okay, thanks. Somehow she can't get off mute, I think. Right. If not, can I thank you very much again for attending and your input to the meeting. Thank you very much.